Crafting was always one of my favorite things to do in Path of Exile 1, so naturally, as I ran into a problem of not being able to afford gear upgrades in Path of Exile 2, I decided, why not craft things? And you know, sometimes you just want to craft one upgrade, but then you craft two, and then you buy 10 bases, and before you know it, you have a whole bunch of stuff to sell, and also a whole bunch of knowledge on how to craft items. So, in today's video, I'm going to be talking about 3 of those items: Energy Shield Boots, Energy Shield Helmets, and Energy Shield Gloves. And I'm going to go over the methods that I've found to be most effective crafting in the early access. But with that said, I really like crafting, so there's a good chance there's going to be more of these videos in the future. The best way to see them is by getting subscribed and ringing the notification bell. Another good way to ensure there's more videos is by leaving a like and sharing it with a friend, because the better this video does, the more likely I am to make a second one. And also, the less the editing is a nightmare, we'll see about that part. And so for now, it's time to get into things, starting with Energy Shield Boots. Now, a good pair of Energy Shield Boots is going to have at least 30% movement speed, and then it's going to have Energy Shield. If you're a pure ES build, it's just going to have Energy Shield as a prefix. If you're Archmage, it's going to have mana. And if you're hybrid, say ES Life, well, then it's going to have maximum life as well. For the suffixes, you want resistances, and also maybe some intelligence. So with that in mind, the best thing to start with is Essence of Haste. Now, I'm using Expert Feather Sandals, which is the best possible base. It requires level 75 and it has the most energy shield at 75. But it should be noted, I am not necessarily using the ideal item level. The best would be 82, which gives you a chance to roll 35% movement speed. But those are quite expensive and hard to get in bulk. Because I didn't want to just craft on a couple bases, I wanted to craft on a lot of bases, I decided it was better to go a little cheaper. Because realistically, as long as it's 78 plus, you'll still hit most of the good mods, and you'll even be able to get 30% movement speed, you just won't be able to hit 35. So the first step is to slam on Essence of Haste and check for movement speed. If the movement speed is 10% or 15%, that item is a brick. Early on in a league, when a lot of new players are coming in, I suspect 20% would be fine, but at this point, that's also probably a brick. Though, you know what, we'll leave them there for now. 30, that's good. 25 might actually be acceptable. So you just go down and you apply your essences to all the boots, then weed out all the boots that do not roll at least 25% movement speed. Again, if you're doing this right after a reset, when more players are interested, 20% is probably a-okay, but realistically, you want 30 as much as possible. So, here I've organized everything: 20%, 25, 30. 20% are pretty much a loss, but it doesn't hurt to use an AUG, and then use a Regal for any that actually hit something good. So this hit garbage. This hit garbage. So far, most of these hit garbage. This one goes on. This hit garbage. That one goes on. All the rest, straight into the reforging bench. This way you can get another chance at rolling something good. Is it probably going to be a brick? Absolutely. But occasionally, you do actually get movement speed or high enough stats that it's worth giving it another shot, like this. It's entirely possible that if regaled, that could roll something useful. You know, rarity, that's at least good enough to AUG. Nah. Gotta be really lucky to hit movement speed off the Regal. So now, Regal Orb. Okay. No movement speed's really unfortunate, but those are some good stats. Also, kind of decent. Next step is doing the same for all the other boots. But the process after this is going to be a little bit different, because these boots have actual potential. Now, all of these have potential just based on the prefixes. These have potential if it hits a good suffix. So if it hits a bad suffix, the goal is regal it. After all, it can't get worse, and regals are pretty cheap. If it doesn't hit anything interesting, just put it off to the side. Right now, I'm looking for things like resistances, things like energy shield, things like life, things like mana, anything that would make me want to buy and put this item on, as opposed to just looking at it and going, it's not quite there. Unfortunately, a lot of these are very much in the not quite there category. And like I said, occasionally you just get lucky and you end up with an actually viable pair of boots. Though, it's not looking too good in terms of the energy shield. So the next step is to make sure that these boots have ES on them. Now, all the ones that were already regaled go to the side, but all of these, we need to add ES, and that is a defense tagged modifier. Just like how Essence of Haste adds a speed tagged modifier, thus forcing movement speed, Energy Shield is defense tagged, thus you can use greater Essence of Enhancement and get Energy Shield. The goal here is more equals better. But realistically, there you go, that's a pretty good one. It's also going to depend on what the other prefix is. Items have 3 prefixes and 3 suffixes. For Energy Shield gear, the prefixes are hugely impactful. Good suffixes can certainly improve an item, but if the base is already terrible, you're not really going to be getting any value. So, when it comes to boots, and when it comes to seeing what's actually going to be worth it, the thing that you have to do next is look for already existing good prefixes and hope you slam another good one on top. If it has 30% movement speed, at this point, I'd say it's always worth gambling the Exalt. But it is a gamble. That hit a suffix, that hit a prefix. The prefix is bad, so that item is bricked. Here, another mediocre one. It's hitting suffixes and low tier life. Good life would be totally fine. There are hybrid builds who value that. It's simply not enough life. Also, stun threshold is really bad when it's low tier. Rarity can be either a prefix or a suffix, so you do have to check. It's pretty good. And the prefix is also life. And this one, lightning res is good. Shock duration honestly isn't bad. A higher stun threshold, not bad. Good life. This is something that a hybrid build might actually put on. It's got usable suffixes. It's got a pretty good life roll, decent amount of energy shield. Let's just for fun slam this one. ES, that's a good sign. Even more ES. In fact, ES hybrid stun threshold. So that is a perfect example of how, even if something looks like it's trash, sometimes you can save it. So far, decent prefix, good suffix. All right, energy shield, good prefix. Bad suffix, okay suffix. Right now, really good prefix. If this hits high tier life, ES, or mana, that's an absolute win. That was a bad suffix, but whatever. That was low tier mana. Honestly, might still be fine as this has a high amount of ES, although with no good suffixes, I don't know. Probably not going to be worth very much. This has low energy shield. Again, let's see. Those are suffixes. Hybrid build might use it, but it's not looking great because that's just very little ES. At that point, you're kind of just wearing life boots and you're giving up all the defenses. Similar concern here, because remember, this wasn't good enough to use the essence. They hit low tier mana, so that immediately just gets tossed out. This one, it's got solid ES. Okay, that's a bad suffix. That's a good suffix. Intelligence is something a lot of ES builds use. And good prefix. Good pair of boots. Really good pair of boots, actually. That one might be the best yet. Then these two don't have 30% move speed. They have 25. But I think they have the most potential due to the very high energy shield rolls and the good suffix. All right, mana. An Archmage build might be happy about this. Not an amazing tier. But you know what? It hit some res. Here we go. Int. That's really good. All right, we need big ES or big mana, even big life. I don't care. Dead suffix. That's fine. Big mana! That is a pretty darn sweet pair of boots for an Archmage build. Now, instead of forcing Energy Shield, you could instead force mana, but from my experience, it is better to force Energy Shield, because if you force mana, only Archmage builds can use it, and I kind of feel like Archmage builds are going to get nerfed, so it might not be as popular soon. Whereas if you're forcing ES, again, pure ES, ES mana, or ES life, all of those builds can use it. And so I'm going to go for the one that yields the most total results, even if it's not necessarily the single best thing for me. And we've got the 20% movement speed, which these probably aren't worth crafting on or slamming, but just for fun, let's see if we hit movement speed here. Ooh, those are both suffixes. Okay, and it's a lot of ES, but it's probably not going to sell because it doesn't have movement speed. These do. 20% isn't nothing. All right, that's not great. Not great, but at least it's a suffix. Hybrid stun threshold. Yeah, I think that one's just dead. Stun threshold. Okay. And now this is going to be a prefix. Okay, good ES. Come on, ES meta life. It's okay. So, let's just toss these in here. Anything good? I mean, honestly, just for fun, let's gamble on these. I don't think either of these are really worth it, because to get any real value, you have to hit movement speed. No movement speed, so that's dead. No movement speed. It's looking really bad. Movement speed. Okay, it's still probably way too bad with 25% and like a terrible meta roll and bad suffixes. Then towards the end, I'm going to price check some of the better items made. These boots might be among it, and they might not. Actually, I feel pretty confident in saying these boots with the 217, they're probably going to get price checked. So next up, gloves. Now, expert intricate gloves are the best base type. They require level 75, and they have 50 energy shield. Gloves are a pain to craft. Item level wise, 81 is the best, but if you're a little bit below that, it's not too big of a deal. The reason 81 is the best is to hit tier 1 attributes. The problem with gloves is they have a lot of junk mods. These are things like mana and life leached from attacks, or low tier life and mana on kill. Life on kill in general is only good if you're a hybrid build. And then the problem is, a lot of the hybrid builds that are stacking both dexterity and intelligence are wearing Hands of Wisdom in action. You can also get a bunch of damage to attack mods. But again, a lot of the attack builds wear unique gloves. So that isn't necessarily ideal. There are some attack builds that can use energy shield gloves. It's just they're kind of a rarity right now. So, with that in mind, the first thing to use is Essence of Enhancement, the goal of getting good energy shield mods, because a good energy shield mod is going to be pretty applicable to most builds. An example of this would be 92 to 100. Really good roll. Oh, another one. That's pretty bad. 99%, nice. 74, 83, 21, 38. Not too terrible. Not great, though. All right. And let's go through the rest real quick. So just like before, anything with really low energy shield is going to get discarded immediately. But this time, because it's not a single key indicator like movement speed, I'm going to just roughly sort them into 3 columns. The right-hand column is going to be the, well, it's not great, but it's probably worth continuing on. The middle column is really good. The left column is, nope, just trash. The middle column is going to be all the high tier ES rolls. The right-hand column, it's okay. It's certainly not ideal, but it's workable. And the left, it just rolled too low. And you know what? Sometimes that happens. That's why, for doing this video, I bought 36 of each base rather than just 1 or 2. The more bases you have, the more consistent you're going to be with your rolls. Because yes, some bases just absolutely brick, and other bases roll really, really well. Really, the only way to counteract that is just raw volume. Now, the next step is to augment. And you augment everything, then kind of sort out the results from there. Because some of the okay gloves that are getting auged, if they roll trash mods, that means they're probably out. The good ones, these have enough ES that they are always going to go on to the next step. There is no throwing any of these away. It's just a matter of how good they're going to be afterwards. And oh, that's pretty cool. That's pretty darn cool. All right, so this definitely goes on to the next step. It rolled cold res. This rolled 5 mana per enemy killed. This rolled attack speed. Again, a lot of the builds are going to be using Hawa, but there are occasionally builds and occasionally bow builds that might be using different ES gloves. It's not looking great. Nope. Rolled badly. All right, that's a good suffix. That's int. Hmm, 10% lightning res. Not great, but the prefixes are all right. These are the, I'm probably going to throw Regal at it and see what it does, but I'm not expecting anything. These are the, nope, it's just dead. No. And these are the, might actually do more. Oh, this is also just dead. Let's see, this, yep, that earned a Regal. And I am going to take a gamble on this one. So, toss these in, like so. Intelligence, log accuracy. Just to get rid of excess bases, I'm going to Regal the dead ones too. Mostly because Regals are pretty cheap. So all of these get Regaled. It's just a matter of, you're going to throw it out anyway, you might as well see if it hits any value. If it hits good mods, it gets kept. Otherwise, goodbye. This did not hit good mods. 77 to mana is a little low. It's close, though. No, it's kind of just junk. The problem with most of these is they don't have a consistent theme. Like, the crit damage bonus is cool and all, but are you really going to buy those over a different pair? Probably not. See, this is where the Regal actually paid dividends, because getting that top tier mana roll, pretty cool, and actually that means this is a pair of gloves that has some potential. Okay, still terrible. Also still terrible. The life's good, the rarity's good, doesn't have much else going for it. Might be worth exalting just for fun. Probably still going to be bad though. This one, I mean, it's got double ES. Actually, the accuracy is unfortunate. Let's try something fun here. If this takes off the accuracy, it can really only make it better. And it's dead. I don't generally recommend randomly chaosing stuff like that. Right. And that's interesting enough that I'm going to put it back here. So for all the others, it is back to Essence of Enhancement. This guarantees a defense mod. In other words, more energy shield. But is it going to be high tier or is it going to be low tier? See, when it's low tier like this, that's very bad news. That means the item is probably a brick. But if it's mid to high tier, something like this, T6, not bad, well, then we're cooking. No, lots of low rolls so far. Okay. That's a hybrid mod. So that has potential, but we're going to need to hit another prefix. Okay. 190, that's pretty good. It's really good as is. Again, potential. Mana, Oh, see, this needed to hit good ES because it already had the mana. That's really unfortunate, and that means it's probably just dead. Oh, that's bad. Come on, high tier, yes. I don't think it listened to me. That's mid tier, yes. That's high tier, yes. So now it's a matter of deciding what to slam. Again, I tend to lean more towards just try it because the cost at this point is relatively cheap. Most of the money has already been invested into the item. And so if it misses, it misses. Like here, a good percent ES roll could save it. Or it's just dead. Good flat ES or good suffixes could save this. All right, that's a good suffix. That is not good flat ES. But I could see this being a pair of bargain bin gloves that someone buys for like 20, 30x. You still get your money back. It's actually pretty decent. All right, this doesn't have much potential. I'm gonna call it there. It really needed to hit another good affix. So we've got high percent, low flat. If it hits mana, that's okay. Dead suffix. Dead prefix. Dead item. Now, melee skills. That's an interesting one. The mana really doesn't help it. But that's an interesting enough roll that I'm just going to slam this out and price check it later. Again, it kind of feels like it's going to go into the bargain bin. Another really tricky one. All right, that's a good suffix. It's a bad suffix. And bad prefix, I think. Have not been too happy with these. All right. Come on, flat ES. This is big money. Come on, good suffixes. This is big money. It is... No! It's hybrid. Oh, that's so unfortunate. Okay. Well, if it hits good suffixes, that's fine. 5% attack speed is not a good suffix. The suffix is all just bricked. Okay. Low mana. But overall, some... No. That, you know what? That's just toss it out at that point. Okay. Flat energy shield is the best here. You'll see it immediately because the ES number is going to go way up. Dead suffix. Dead prefix. I think it's just dead. As you will notice, I hit a lot more boots, but I went, this has potential. This is why crafting on gloves is such a pain, and also why really good gloves are so expensive. But you know what? This already has good ES. This only needs to hit interesting suffixes and 36% lightning res. It's a good suffix. I mean, the prefix is unfortunate, but it hit good. That's a really solid pair of gloves, despite the one dead prefix. Needs to hit flat. I'd call that pretty dead. Okay, this already has good ES. This has the potential to have good ES. Dead suffix. Double dead suffix. Completely dead. Come on, suffixes. Okay. Rarity is not exactly bad, but it's really low tier. Mana is really good. Okay. I mean, the suffixes are mediocre. The prefixes are good. Mana is pretty hot right now. This is also worth at least something. So, a bunch of gloves that are just going to kind of get combinated. This really isn't anything. That's going to get recombinated too. These, I don't know. I just think the melee skills is interesting. I don't think it's necessarily good. I have not sold very many gloves with melee skills. All right. Really high life. Honestly, this is kind of cool because a hybrid build is most likely to be an attack build, in my opinion. Ooh, crit damage. Okay. Okay. And now, even if it's not an attack build, like Blood Mage, these are kind of pretty sick Blood Mage gloves. I really like those. I think those might be the best pair of gloves. So, hybrid. All right. Let's slam yes. low tier hybrid mana? Wait, no, never mind. It already had 2 prefixes. Oh god, I shouldn't have slammed that. Yeah, always check your prefixes first. And this, I mean, if you're an ES attacker, no, it hit mana. I don't know. Those give me bargain bin energy. All right, last but not least, helmets. There are 2 notable essences here. Essence of Enhancement, which is a defense modifier, think energy shield, and Essence of the Mind, which is a mana modifier. Personally, I prefer to start with Essence of Enhancement. It means the final craft is a little bit more expensive, but it is much easier to slam mana on a helmet that already has good ES than it is to slam good ES on a helmet that already has mana. Also, very often when you augment or when you slam for the suffixes, there's a good chance you will hit plus minion skill level. I have yet to see a minion build using Archmage or Mind Over Matter. So, the mana is not always valuable, whereas the energy shield is very valuable to minion builds. So, to maximize resellability and give the highest chances of overall success, I prefer Essence of Enhancement. Now for item level, there are some slim benefits to 81, but realistically, 78 plus is totally fine. 47 to maximum energy shield, that's actually pretty okay, although 48 is the magic number. You can go up to 60. 78%, not too bad. I mean, even look at my helmet, it has nearly 500, and it has the 61 to 73, 92 to 100, and a good hybrid mod. You don't need like 500 ES to have a good helmet. Okay. 90%, not bad. See, the 90% one is where the mana might actually be relevant. 61 to 73, that's another one where mana might actually be relevant. On the hybrid, I don't tend to like it because the end result is either hybrid mana energy shield or flat mana. Oh, those are some low rolls. Those are all going to get thrown out. And let's just toss all the essences on the rest. And like we've done before, go through and filter out any that are really good or really bad. Wait, 34, that's not really bad. I'd say 34 is just like, okay. 18% though, that's really bad. The reason I'm treating hybrid a bit better than flat is because if you hit a low flat roll, you then can't hit flat again. If you hit a low hybrid roll, you can potentially save it with a good energy shield roll. So now it's time to aug. Oh, that is not an aug. And sort everything again based on what the augments hit. This column is already safe. This column is going on to the next round of crafting regardless. This column, though, that's going to depend. Because if the item starts with 2 dead mods, it is infinitely harder to make it into something good. Or I should say 2 suboptimal mods, because even the hybrid, technically not dead. Okay, that's pretty decent. Also pretty decent. It's 1 dead mod. That's pretty bad. Oh, that's really good. I think that goes over into this column now, because it hit a really good suffix. That hit a pretty solid suffix. Also pretty solid suffix. I mean, 28's not bad. I'll think about those. It's meh, but it's whatever. Intelligence is good. A lot of builds use intelligence. That's pretty bad. 11. It's not that crit hit chance is bad. It's that 11% is bad. Ooh. Such a low roll. All right, so these are the definitely did not roll well enough category. These get thrown out immediately. But I should say rerolled, because you know what? It's possible. Rarity. Rarity. Intelligence. Okay, someone might want that. We're cooking. Let's regal it, see if it hits it. Oh, it's back. It's so back. These are the... It's never going to be amazing, but it's worth regaling. And any of these that hit really bad mods just get tossed immediately. Also, because I don't have other blue helmets to mix in, I'm just going to regal these for more recombination fun. Like with this, because it now has an okay ES prefix and a really bad ES prefix. This has too little mana. This hit low rarity, which is not good. This hit low mana. Because helmets are much easier to roll than a lot of the other items, such as gloves and boots, they're also a lot harder to roll a good one because there's more competition and the market is more saturated. That's why there are things that I would have kept on a pair of boots or on a pair of gloves that I am not keeping here. If it didn't have the accuracy, I'd maybe gamble. Okay. If it was double hybrid, maybe. Alright. So then, which one of these do we use greater essences on, and which greater essences get used? Or is it bad enough that I say, wait a minute, maybe it's not worth the greater essence? This, I'd say, is worth the greater essence just because it can go up to 60. If it hits something really good, you can actually divine it. This is hybrid. Good hybrid, and it has mana. And it has some res. This is not as good hybrid. Actually going to do that. Yeah, see, that's the problem. Half the time it just hits low tier ES anyway. This is flat ES. Makes me hopeful. This is 60% increased. I think all three of these are a regal. Regal, regal, regal. Okay. That is going to get slammed later because it has potential. That's two good suffixes. This has very questionable mods. And this has very questionable mods. You know, I think I made it much better. The double rarity. That's just going to go in the, probably sell in the bargain bin. I don't know, 39% rarity is kind of a lot. Might even be worth a divine. But now the next question, in terms of helmets, is, are you crafting with greater essence of enhancement or greater essence of the mind? Now, me personally, I'm an Archmage build. So, I want mana on my gear. But I'd also look at what the item has on it. So for example, right here, this item has Energy Shield Mana Hybrid already. So this is a really good candidate for Greater Essence of a Mind to hit flat mana. It is kind of likely to brick, because then you have to RNG your way into Energy Shield. But it's a big risk, big payoff. In this case, maybe small payoff, because it didn't hit. And now the item is dead, because it has a mediocre prefix and a really bad one. This is just ES, and since it's flat ES, it scales really well with any percentage ES. So these are kind of open to opportunity. For this, you really want flat ES, so I would use a greater essence of enhancement. 44, 314 total. It's looking really good. 75 to max life. All right. Doesn't really make it worse at this point. Just means hybrid accessible, although 75 is a little low. Rarity, that makes it much better. Oh, that's really good. Attributes is unfortunate, but still, I would call that very sellable. Also, we have this. It's a bad suffix, but prefixes are wide open. Life, okay. It does like to roll life. Rarity, probably not great. I'd say bargain bin at best, kind of like this one. This I would put down as an actual sellable helmet. This, so what? Prefix, suffix, suffix? No, prefix, prefix. Unfortunate if a rarity is a prefix. It can be either a prefix or a suffix. Okay. Life regen and cold res. With that much rarity, also kind of interesting, probably not great. None of these are spectacular so far. Definitely energy shield here. So now most of the value is going to be hitting flat ES. If it adds a prefix and the ES doesn't move, it is very dead. Those are suffixes. Very dead. Another percent. ES mana. Okay. And life. It's dead. This is flat ES. This is hybrid ES, and it's ES life. So now we go Essence of Enhancement. And we hit flat energy shield. A good percent roll would make this into a pretty sick helmet. Well, didn't really get to be a sick helmet, but the suffixes could save it. And I'd say at this point, it is at best bargain bin. Yeah, there's no way anything else was saving it, but that's probably just straight vendor, unfortunately. All right, those are flat ES. This is going to be Essence of Enhancement. It's got to hit another good ES mod. It did not hit another good ES mod. Again, because the bar is so high for ES items, right now it's pretty hard to get something good. It means on the one hand, if you just need an okay helmet, don't craft it, just buy it. On the other, if you need an amazing helmet, absolutely craft it because it's going to be monumentally expensive. So here there are two approaches. Approach number one would be to go Essence of Enhancement and hope for more energy shield to double down. Option two, Greater Essence of a Mind and hope for Archmage stuff. Again, the big gamble, but potentially big payoff. And you know what? I'm all for some big gambles. Even when they don't pay off. Could still be fine, though. It is not fine. This is now dead. Sure, let's try one more time for big Archmage helmet. Nope. Yet again, the big gamble did not pay off. If this gets good suffixes, though, it's potentially salvageable. Okay, that's salvageable. I think someone would buy that. For these, I'm going to go Enhancement. It's the safe route. It's what I would advise most people to do until you already have really good gear. Because again, it is much more likely to yield a usable output. Accuracy is bad. I'd say that's just dead. 193 got rarity as a prefix, which is unfortunate because it's low tier. I would also call that one dead then. Here we have two good ES prefixes. Rarity as a suffix. Okay, that's good. Lightning res. All right. And the last prefix, a little bit of mana. I think that puts it in bargain bin territory. And then rarity, prefix, unfortunate. It needs some banger suffixes. It did not get the banger suffixes. At best, this is a bargain bin item. Okay, now for the fun part. Price checking the best items. Something to keep in mind, prices are always changing. Pay more attention to the process I am using to price check and less attention to the number I get at the end. So first up, these Soul Paw that have 190 energy shield and some int and some cold res. Now on the handy dandy calculator, they would have 228 energy shield at full quality. It's just a 20% more multiplier. You could easily socket in an Iron Rune, but because someone might want a Soul Core here, might not necessarily be the best thing to do. Though, depending on the prices, it could be a way to get it sold. So, first thing, gloves. 220 ES. Then, let's take the suffixes into account. We've got 36 lightning, 11 cold, 27 int. That's about 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. What I like to do for this is just lightning res, cold res, fire res, intelligence, weighted sum, 70, weight everything at 1. See what pops up. All right. Here we go. 4 divines. Here we go. Corrupted with +1 max frenzy charges. That's kind of sick. Also, already socketed, so this is a worse item in some ways, but it has a frenzy charge, so maybe it's a better item. This, 220, counting the rune. This is just straight up worse, for 5 divines. This looks pretty comparable, actually probably better, because this is 241 with the rune socketed, but it's 7 divines. So I would say the value is below 7, but above 4 and 5. That is roughly a 6 divine pair of gloves. And I'm just going to set this to public for a second so I can leave notes with the values. And for an item like this, I actually would not recommend putting in the rune, just because there's a decent chance it's going to go to someone who wants to socket a soul core. Then this one, 181. So again, with quality, 181 times 1.2, 217. This also has 118 mana and a little bit of int and fire res and rarity. So, rarity of items found. I'm just going to put 30 total here. Change this to 200. Remember, Archmage is pretty hot, so we'll just do 110. Got 1 divine, already socketed. This is where socketing it can make it vastly easier, because this has a bit more ES than all of these. So let's just do this, just to filter out some of these pre-socketed items. All right. This is about equivalent. It's got 135 mana as opposed to 118, so it's a little better. But it's about equivalent for 5 divines. Also, not socketed, so actually it's better. Never mind. This is a little bit more equivalent, though it does have more mana. This is actually pretty close for 5 divines. It has a much better suffix. It has an open suffix, actually. But I'd say that's pretty close. This, it's not socketed, which is a good sign. It's got more mana. If anything, I'd call this one underpriced rather than reflective of the market. Probably put it somewhere around here. Let's just say 4 divines in value, because this one is clearly worse because it's only reaching that 220 ES mark with the socketed cold res. And so if you wanted higher ES, you could get that. If you wanted a mana soul core, can't get that here. This has lowered the item's value. Yeah, I'm going to say 4. Then this item, the hybrid with a lot of rarity and crit damage and just all sorts of weird junk. I'm going to be honest, this is kind of an item I don't know how to price, because it's got so much weird junk and I'm not entirely sure what builds would use it. So I'm just going to say maximum life 170. To focus in on energy shield gloves, not strength or dex. Critical damage bonus. I'm going to say this is more valuable and set the total. What's going to be the total if it's a 1.5 to 1? It's 30, 40, 50. And I'll count the dex as 1 each, so 60-ish. That's not a good sign. Things are all over the place. So I think instead, we can't use the weighted sum here. This item is too niche and specific. Instead, just search like this. ES gloves with life rarity crit damage. That's concerning. Is this the wrong rarity mod? This the wrong crit damage bonus mod. Let's turn one off. No results with the crit damage bonus. Rarity shows up. I'm thinking it might be the crit damage mod. It is the crit damage mod. Cut. Increased critical damage bonus. Okay. Oh, I see. This was 2 critical damage. All right, let's try this again. Gonna go back to online only. This tells me the item is not super in demand. Because it goes from like 5x to 15x to like 5 and 10 divines. Very randomly. I don't know. This is the sort of item that I would just chuck up at a random price. And if it sells, it sells. And it probably won't. So, YOLO. Why am I putting it so high? Because it's probably never going to sell anyway. Next up, boots. And to make this easy, I'm going to split them off. I mean, this one, because it doesn't have any movement speed, this is also just put it up at a random price. I don't know. 50 exalts. Odds are no one is going to buy boots without movement speed. But maybe there's someone who's like, I have Temporalis Blink, and I really need extra rarity on my boots. I can afford a mirror, but I'm going to buy this shitty pair for 50x. Spoiler alert, that's probably not going to happen. Those are probably never going to sell. Then 25, 30, 25, 30. So let's price check the 25s first. One of them has better prefixes, one of them has better suffixes. Movement speed. 25. Should have kept the weighted sum from earlier. Because it's just going to be fire, cold, lightning, and intelligence. I think I'll search rarity separately. Lightning, cold, fire, int. Weight of 1 each. So first, 217. So about 260 ES, 25% movement speed. Not any good suffixes, really. So 260. See, this underpriced. They're probably getting spammed right now. This seems more like the fair price. Should be noted, this one is worse because it has a rune. This one, also worse. This one worse. This one's pretty comparable. Has 1 good suffix. Similar prefixes. Exact same ES, actually. This is our pair of boots. 1 divine, 1 divine, 1 divine. Goes up to 2. I don't know. I'd say it's about 1 divine. This pair, much lower ES, but it has mana. So 149 times 1.2. It's going to be like 170 ES. Then again, 170 ES boots. Like, you can have some pretty darn good 170 ES boots. And the suffixes aren't bad. It's like 60% plus 135 mana. So, mana 135. Let's go 130, 60, and 1... You know, I'm going to go 170. All right. Looks like it's about 3 divines. Though, this one is worse because it can't socket a soul core. This one's worse. This one's worse. This one's comparable. This one's comparable. This one's comparable. So actually, I'm going to say it is more likely 4 divines. Maybe even 5. Though some of those, we're definitely getting into the better range, because some of these 30% movement speed instead of 25. So I'm pretty comfortable with 4 divines for a 25. Speaking of, Now, it's time to check the 30% movement speed. I forgot how awkward this one is. It's also like 170-ish ES, but it doesn't have the mana. All it has is 30% move speed. Is this going to be worth anything? I kind of bet it isn't. Because, like, the prefixes are so bad. Yep. That's pretty bad. Okay, the prefixes weren't quite as bad as I thought. I don't think that saves it, though. I think this is the more interesting pair. Let's see. Okay, maybe it saves it. Maybe ES stuff's in enough demand. Though also, maybe not. Because I bet if I search for Exalts, I'll find out the price is pretty low. Yeah. I don't know. 1520X? Still technically a sellable item? For something that I thought was bricked? Not bad. Though I'd still personally just toss it in a dump tab. Basically, anything under a Divine, I just toss into a dump tab. It'll get sorted out by the time it reaches here. This is a more interesting one. 120 ES, 30 move speed, 144 life, with a little bit of lightning rest. So, 30 here. And 120. Well, that's a bad sign. They're showing up for Exalts. About 30x. It's okay. If it had just one more good affix, it would have been really good. And then, last but not least, the helmets. Most of which are probably not going to be worth anything. So, this is 220. You know what? For all of these, just to make helmets more sellable, I always put the rune in. Yes, some people will want a soul core, but a vast majority of people on their helmet do want a rune. And because helmets are so competitive, you usually need the edge of raising your ES by that little bit extra from socketing in the rune or the soul core. In this case, very much of a rune. And for this one, I'm even going to quality it up because I know it's going to be worth enough to justify the cost. The other thing to note, if you have a really good item, like even this, totally just quality it up because someone's going to look at that and go, oh, I don't have to do work. I get the max ES right away, and they're going to be more likely to buy your item. If something's a little more questionable, like this or this or this, don't quality it because you might be wasting resources. But I've definitely sold some items that I otherwise wouldn't have just because I clicked a few armor scraps. But okay, this is the most questionable one. So it's for the amalgamated suffixes, 60-ish. And we can use the same suffix filter here. Helmet. It's got like 200 ES. Yep, it's got 200. And then 100 life, 26 rarity. No, I don't know. I think this one might be a meme. Yep. That is a bargain bin item if I ever saw one. This is better though, because this actually has some decent suffixes on top of a lot of rarity. So 40, 35, rarity is actually pretty valuable, and then the 260 times 1.2, 312, so 300. Wait, am I searching only in... Yeah, I am searching only in Exalts. The fact that only 3 showed up tells me this is definitely an item worth Divines. And sure enough, here we go. Like 2 Divines, maybe 3. I'd kind of lean towards the 3 here, because a lot of these are already socketed, and some people need the flexibility. Wait, no, never mind. Ours is pre-socketed as well. And see, that's a problem. A lot of the time, your item gets buried. Though, funnily enough, this one, kind of really good and kind of really cheap totally a snipe worth picking up. I don't know, if I was feeling ambitious, I'd maybe try to sell it for 4 divines, just because the lightning res is a fair bit higher. Realistically, just 3. It's fine. Then 365. I honestly don't think the life is that valuable, but I do think the rarity is valuable. So 360, 30, 20. Okay, it's looking like there's a lot for a rounded divine. I have to say, I kind of expected this one to be worth a little bit more with 360 ES. Maybe it's worth 2 divines with the life, because the life isn't nothing. You know what, let's find out. What's it worth with the life? Just, I don't know, 60. Yeah, that feels fair to me. Might not sell super quickly, though. And then this one, which has okay ES prefixes, a little bit of mana, which isn't super impactful. Then pretty nice suffixes. So 28 plus 28 is 50, 30, 80 total. And then the 270, it's like 320, so I'm going to go 320. And mana of 70. Looks like, because of the popularity of Archmage, this one's strictly better. This one's pretty comparable. We're looking at like 3-ish divines. Should sell pretty decently. And so that is a little bit of my thought process for price checking some of these items. If you're wondering why no one has messaged me to trade, it is because before this I turned D&D on, because it's really annoying to get interrupted while recording videos, but I also would feel really bad just ignoring people's messages. So D&D, I'm sure some of the messages would start coming in the minute I placed some of these in a public tab about a price, because people would be like, oh my god, good gloves, must buy good gloves. Or people would be like, oh my god, the exact weird niche gloves that I need that aren't actually good, I must buy those. Yeah, those are some of ways in which I've been crafting energy shield gear in Path of Exile. Now, if you are also a crafter, please share some of your methods down in the comments below, either for energy shield gear or quivers, or really anything at all. I just like seeing other cool crafting methods. Whether you're using it to craft your own upgrades, or using it to make a profit, ideally both, I'd love to see it. In terms of me personally, I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to be crafting next. It probably depends on the next build I play, or if I keep getting stuck in this rabbit hole of min-maxing my character and deciding, no, I'm done, and then getting dragged in by shifting to something else. Could keep happening. Could be that I'll decide, nope, this is actually the point where I'm done. I don't know. I guess I'll just have to get subscribed and find out in the future. But also, if you aren't a crafter in Path of Exile, and you want to know how to craft more items, feel free to ask down below. Maybe I'll have an answer to your question, or maybe someone else in the comments will. And maybe it'll be the topic of a future video. But for now, I hope the way that I craft energy shield boots, energy shield gloves, and energy shield helmets, plus a little bit on price checking, was helpful. Thank you very much for watching to the end. If you're looking for something else to watch, then maybe check out this previous video where I talked about the fact that I didn't think Spark was very fun. I changed up a few things with my Spark, and I found a way to make it fun. That'll be up in the card and down below. But for now, I'm going to get going, put some of these items up for sale, and I'll see you in the next one.